down, because at the end of the four speakers, we will give you time to ask questions to any of the four speakers, all right? Okay, so Dr. Jujinder, yeah, please proceed. Yes, thank you.
If all speakers can limit themselves to about 8 minutes, we have a better conversation, because when people ask questions, a more specific answer can be.
Hello.
So we're requesting everybody, all speakers, to kind of limit to about 8 minutes, because then when people ask questions later on, they might be able to give more specific answers. And as Dr. Chun said, we'll have questions at the end. So please don't forget the questions to the first speaker. Have your questions ready. And at the end, when the questions come to the speakers, all the speakers will address all the questions together. So that it doesn't happen that the first speakers get more time and the people at the end kind of get pushed into just a few minutes. Okay. So.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Mini Jujinda. I'm a general practitioner and I'm part of Choices Network Thailand. Right now I work at the Institute of HIV and also provide safe abortions. Okay. This is just the Okay, so this is just a throwback. This is the first time I got to know the ASAP team, and this was my youth champion workshop. This was in 2017. My presentation will be very brief, but I'll briefly touch on background, what the abortion situation is like in Thailand, and key achievements of the movement in the past 4 or 5 years. So what is the abortion landscape like in Thailand? There's been, in the past 5 years, there's been new sexual and reproductive health legislation, which on the surface looks very good. 2016, the government passed the Prevention and Solution of Adolescent Pregnancy Problem Act. In 2009, Thailand was rated it had the highest rate of teenage pregnancies in the region, so as a response, the government drafted this act, which is supposed to ensure that youth from 10 to 19 years old have access to sexual and reproductive health care services, the right to knowledge, the right to services. Apart from that, in 2016, the National Health Security Office also started providing annual abortion subsidies for Thai citizens. So, in theory, you could get your abortions for free. And then in 2020, the biggest landmark was that they expanded abortion access. Previously, there was no gestational age specified, so it was really up to the doctor whether or not they would perform the abortion, but now they've expanded it to 20 weeks. If the gestational age is less than 12 weeks, in theory, a woman just has to say that she wants an abortion or that she needs one, and no one can bar her from it. But that is what the paperwork says, but the reality is very different. The fact that under the surface, the fact is that these changes were made by civil society or were pushed for by civil society. A lot of healthcare providers still do not provide abortions and do not agree. So the most, I was researching this, and in 2023, the most research surveyed 5th-year medical students who did agree that abortion could be beneficial for women in certain situations, like if they had underlying conditions, or they experienced rape, or if the fetus had an anomaly. But it was certain conditions, and I'll explain later why this is a problem, but I'm sure you can already see. Because this legislative push was not that supported by the medical community, abortion still remains a pipe dream for women who need them. Because of the current situation, public hospitals selectively perform abortions. Outside of Bangkok, roughly only 50% of Thailand provinces do not have hospitals that perform them. And in Bangkok itself, all the 22 hospitals under the BMA do not provide abortions. So the subsidy provided by the NHSO, you cannot use if you go to a private clinic. So right now, as it stands in Thailand, most abortion services are provided by private clinics and hospitals, which will charge around 3,000 to 5,000 baht a case. This is around 5 times the minimum wage. And most of the people who need abortions make less than 15K Thai baht a month. This is just a rough analysis of the data from our own clinic. So in the 6 months I've been with them, they take 2 abortion cases a day. Our main service is telehealth. So in the 6 months I've been with them, they've done roughly 100 cases. And in 66 of these cases, women had been previously pregnant before, and 4% had a history of induced abortion before. These statistics are just interesting to me because, one, they sort of maybe dispel the myth that people who want abortions are first-time moms or maybe teenage pregnancies. And the history of induced abortion is interesting to me in the sense that once someone enters the system, I think we should try our best to support that they don't have to go through it again. What was also interesting from looking at our clinic statistics was that because we're general practitioner-led and that our main cases are through telemedicine or just the use of medical abortion pills, we only take patients who are under 12 weeks gestational age. And from what I've seen, the failure rate is quite high. So 30% needed either the repeat misoprostol dosing or referral for further MBA. So this is something our clinic is still working to address, but because of the safe abortion landscape in Thailand, the fact that it still lacks the sort of government infrastructure, this is just something to keep in mind. But now moving on to more hopeful things. So apart from what I've discussed, there's also been many great achievements, notable wins in the abortion space. Though, as I already mentioned, there is new legislation. Though on paper it is not performing as well as we would like, it would be silly to say that they had no impact at all. From when I first stepped into medical school to when I graduated, once the 2020 law was in place, I saw professors start speaking about abortion more openly. And then they also started teaching us how to do MBA, which the MBA training, I'm sure they would have taught us before, but the abortion lecture probably would have not. While waiting for legislation to catch up, civil society has also built a lot of referral networks, and perhaps you can use these as inspiration. So there is one government hotline that people can call, 1663. In the past it was used for HIV/AIDS counseling. Now they do both HIV/AIDS and safe abortion referrals. Apart from government hotlines, there's also other NGOs has adapted alongside technology. One Care Station has an online chat room. RSA Online has an online chatbot algorithm. And Tamtam has equivalent to a WhatsApp counseling service. So all these NGOs or all these networks are able to refer a patient to safe abortion centers. And then there's also, because now the laws are more open, NGOs are also feel more comfortable listing out abortion, where patients can find abortion services. So this is from RSA's website. This is a list of private clinics that outline the costs for patients. Tamtam also has a Google Maps that they made that shows patients where the location of all these clinics are, including the costs as well. And because now the laws are more generous, we also see increased abortion visibility in the media. In the past, maybe there was more negative depictions of abortion, but now recently the BMA in November held this Bangkok abortion event They invited politicians and then NGOs to come speak, and there was also a press release. So I think this is the start of something positive.
Thank you very much. So, take down all the questions you want to raise later on, and then we will call up you ask.
So now we have, is Zarguna's PPT ready?
Yeah, okay.
So, the first question. So now we invite Zarguna Wahood from the PN, that's the Pakistan Network. And she's going to speak to us on building inclusive movements with women living with disabilities in Pakistan. So, Zarguna, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Chung and Ma'am Manisha. So I'm. Is it clear now? Can you hear me now? I'm a bit louder. I'm trying to be loud. The mic is working, but it's not very clear. Now?
Yes. Okay.
So my name is Zarguna Wahood and I'm from Pakistan Advocacy Network and has been with ACP since years. Happy to be growing old together. So my presentation today is a bit different and maybe very new to most of the people here. It's about disability inclusion and safe abortion. Next. Movement building and strategies for including women with disabilities in safe abortion strategies in Pakistan. So I'm sorry, I have to move forward because I cannot see. So Pakistan's population is around 2 to 5 million, and according to WHO, 15% of this entire population are people living with some sort of a disability. And also I would like to mention in here that disability is not always that is visible. There are many invisible disabilities also, and the number is quite huge. And if further on we see 15% of this 15% are women and girls living with disabilities, which is a huge, huge number. Next slide, please. Relationship between disability and ASAR-HR utilization outcomes. In Pakistan, very little to no literature is available on this topic, which is very disappointing because in most of the conversations that goes around on ASAR-HR or reproductive health, women with disabilities are not taken on board and they say is not considered as important as it should be. And most of the exclusion reasons from healthcare services are due to biasness, family, doctors, because the family, like they most of the times feel like why would a woman or a girl with a disability need any kind of like awareness on their health. And also the doctors, they also are mostly, I'm sorry to say, nasty because they do not know how to deal with a person with a disability. And lack of awareness, and the most important thing is accessibility. If even you have services in place and if you know about your rights, but the healthcare services are not accessible for you, then it's of no use, right? Next. Acts specifically prohibited under the CRPD. CRPD is a convention on the rights of women with, or person with disabilities. That is like a convention by the United Nations, and Pakistan has ratified it, unfortunately, with no implementation. And these are some of the acts that are really prohibited under this. Forced sterilization and hysterectomy, contraception, making a family, abortion performed without free and informed consent of the women concerned. Here I would like to say that forced sterilization is happening a lot in Pakistan. I don't know about other regions, but there women with disabilities are mostly sterilized against their consent just to avoid unwanted pregnancies that may occur through a rape or any kind of such incident. So, yeah, next. Analysis, unfortunately, we have been working for years and years to see if there is any literature or any information available anywhere, but no luck, because there is no specific policy or any kind of information available on the rights of women with disabilities. So a much further research is required to understand how the healthcare system in Pakistan is responsive to the different needs of women with disabilities. Because I, being living with a disability, I know that mostly when I go to a doctor, they cannot answer my query exactly the way I want it to be. Because if I have any kind of health problem, they would relate it to my disability directly or indirectly, which is not the solution in any ways. Next. So these are some of the interventions that PAN has been doing. Engaged with women and girls with living with disabilities to get their inputs. I would like to mention in here that PAN is the only and the first network in Pakistan who directly connected with women with disabilities from the very grassroots level to know their inputs and to know what they are facing and what their say is all about. Meetings with health departments, doctors, Islamic scholars through FGDs. We performed some of the focus group discussions with these people to know what their stance is on disability inclusion and what more understanding we can develop with them. Capacity building programs and representation, developed a set of videos in order to support deaf and hard of hearing people in obtaining accurate information and around issues related to SRHR. Dr. Delvi has already mentioned about these videos in her presentation. Next. So this is from the last year ARGC conference, which was a huge platform for us, provided thanks to ASAP, where I represented on behalf of women with disabilities, and I think I was the only person there to talk on behalf of women with disabilities. So it was a huge platform where different activists and scholars from around the world came together, and we were able to let them know about this topic. Next. So these are some of the testimonials from the focus group discussions and the consultations that we had with women with disabilities. I will have just go through one or two of them. I once went to a doctor to talk about my disturbed monthly cycles, but what I got in return was a nasty reply that, why are you so worried about your uterus? Just operate and get rid of it. I was so scared that I never went again to any doctor. And there is one other one. We have the right to be loved for who we are, not for what we cannot do or what we look like. Next. Yeah. So I think this is the last slide. Inclusive safe abortion rights movement, this is what we demand. Accessible material, meetings through ramps, video aids, sign language interpreters, etc. Conforming to the slogan, nothing about us without us. Because this is a slogan that we really believe in, that if there is something happening and it's on my rights, I have to be there. I have to be engaged from the very planning phase, because I know what I face and I can tell you the solution also. Thank you.
Well, there were two fantastic presentations, and especially on the dot, the presentations were so really appreciate that very much. Thank you, Zulguna. Now we invite Puku from Bhutan, and Puku is also part of a countrywide network on abortion, and she's going to talk of queer communities and safe abortion rights in Bhutan. 8 minutes.
Can you hear me? Sorry. So hi, I'm Puku and I'm from Bhutan, a small country in the Himalayas, known as the happiest country in the world. So how many of you are aware of that catchphrase and think that Bhutan is like the happiest country in the world? Interesting. Okay, so this is the country profile of Bhutan. The population is close to 800,000. The maternal mortality rate is like 53 53 out of every 100 live bird. And then I put a registered queer community because my topic is surrounding it, on it, but then like we don't have exact data. So what I heard, it's an informal message that I got, so I don't know if the number could be higher or lower, but then like, they said it's 216. These are registered, so like there might be more numbers that we're not aware of right now. And then I also like to highlight 75% of the population is by default Buddhist. So before I jump into my topic, I'll briefly want to talk about like DISA. So DISA is a small informal local network in Bhutan. It was started by Onchitama, dedicated advocate who recognized the critical need for Bhutan to start conversation on safe abortion. And then we also believe in inclusivity, and then that safe abortion is not just women's rights. So we work closely with DPO, that's the Disabled People's Organization. Red Purse, we don't have logo or anything because it's criminalized. So Red Purse is the sex workers network, and then like Pride Bhutan, that's the LGBTQ plus community. So our work, these are all informal, by the way, informal meetings that we had. So we had the first YAI, it was conducted by Ochitama in 2020. We had our second YAI just last year, 2024, and then we also had an informal desensitization program just a while ago, like in Jan. So I would like to briefly talk about the current laws and how Bhutan perceive abortion in Bhutan. So before we jump into that, the WHO fact sheet states that a pregnant person can avail these four services, avail safe abortion services under these four circumstances, like in case of rape, incest, when the pregnant person is mentally unsound, or if there is a risk to the fetus and the pregnant person. So, although the fact sheet says that it is legal under these circumstances, and then so that makes it only criminalized, right? But then, like whoever is like, I'll just point out now, the government, the local agencies, they have imposed this idea that abortion is illegal. So that's why I emphasize on the word considered. So it's considered illegal. And then like what happens is like because of these legal restrictions, it has become more or less like a taboo. So people don't talk about it, and then even if they want to talk about it, like there's no safe space where they can like openly discuss about these conversations. And our biggest setback right now is the religious, from the religious side, because our country is like 75% Buddhist by default, whether you like it or not, and then they believe in like non-violence, and then like killing another being is sin. So they have clubbed this together, and then it was a really nice question by Dr. Dalvi when she asked me like, so are these the only two conditions that the monastic body has? Like, is there other things? So I looked into it, and then like in Buddhism, in Bhutan, the Buddhists believe is that life begins at conception. So there's this whole debate on that. So they have clubbed this non-violence and then like killing is a sin together, and then like has put this restraint. So yeah, finally here. So in 2021, homosexuality has been decriminalized, but then what happens after that? Does just having a legal reform like solve all the problems? because there's still stigma, there's still discrimination, and then like even within the community, like the LGBT plus individuals, especially like people, female, people, individuals assigned female at birth, so they, I can give an example. Like I had an informal meeting with a group of them, and then like what they told me was like whatever funds that comes to Pride Bataan, even within that circle, they're being discriminated because like they are a minority within the minority. So like whatever like funds that come in, it is for the general. So there's no budget allocated for like safe abortion or like reproductive rights and these things. And then like again, homosexuality may have been decriminalized, but then safe abortion hasn't. So like there's a legal restraint on that as well. So these are the barrier to access, like stigma and fear. They have fear of judgment, not just from the society, but also from the healthcare providers, because like because of their sexual orientation. So if they like get pregnant, because we're talking about LGBT, right? So like if they get pregnant because of their sexual orientation, like there's another layer of like discrimination in it. So and then there's legal restraint. So the current law does not recognize like queer problems. So like whatever like policies we have, like the 4 conditions are like for women. And then like there's no lack of inclusive policies. So the reproductive policy that we have right now are designed for cisgender women. And then like so the question here is, should reproductive rights be a privilege based on gender? So the path forward, yeah. So this is where DISA comes in, and then like the question is like, so what can we do? So what we're gonna do is work on public awareness campaigns, which we are already doing. So we are masking it as like, you know, like for a social cause. So what we did was like we built connection with this one principal in a remote area. So we did a cloth drive, and that way when we reached there, we were like just casually saying, oh, since you guys are already here, like if we could briefly talk about SRHR and stuff like that. So this is like how we are masking things right now. And then like we are also going to work on affirming like healthcare trainings. So what we're going to do is like collaborate with CANs that or country networks that has already worked on it, and then maybe channel their resources or like information towards the queer community back home. And then like when it comes to policy reform, just a second. So what we are doing is like we're getting a general consensus. So that's that way we're gonna, because it's equal to impossible right now to fight for like decriminalization. So what we're gonna do is, yeah, fight for it. So can I ask just one last question? So how many of you still think that Bhutan is indeed the happiest country in the world?
Okay, thank you, Buku. Please record your questions, and then let's have a Q&A later. So next speaker will be Surya Saxena, Action Aid India, and she will be talking about bridging the gap. One-stop crisis center, reflections on the abortion of minor violence survivors. Domestic violence, I suppose? Minor violence survivors. Sexual violence. Okay, Susma, please.
Thank you so much. Before I begin, I would just want to give a brief about the Godby One Stop Crisis Center, started by Action Aid in 2014 with a feminist approach, especially building its whole system around the Usha Mehra guidelines post the Delhi gang rape case, so that women who have survived violence of any form can get relief under one roof. So this whole setup was started in 2014 with a lot of vigor. But coming in 2017, we were merged with the government scheme, similar scheme of one-stop center, and then everything went awry. So there are different forms of violence registered at Gorvi, including sexual violence, grievous domestic violence, non-grievous domestic violence, and other matters that impact women right property, divorce, maintenance, etc. Now we had developed our own protocols for dealing with sexual violence and how girls can navigate through these policies, but with the merging with the government policies, our protocols have become more conforming in nature with the government policies. So just giving a brief update regarding our work since 2014, there are 72,000 women who have reached out to us through different platforms. We have registered cases of 8,500 women, and 7,000 women since 2014 have received shelter, temporary shelter at our center. Now, long story short, abortion is not illegal in India under certain circumstances, which again that is defined in the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. However, when we talk about young girls, there is a little gray area. The prevention of children from sexual offences was enacted in 2012, which increases the consent age of girls to 18. So any girl involving in any form of sexual act, whether it's by consent, it is considered to be a crime. So all girls, despite their consent or not, become a victim. Now, when they come with this kind of approach, how they treat girls becomes very problematic. And when we try to engage with these girls, we are forced to follow a straitjacket protocol. That okay, a girl has come, irrespective of her sexual aspiration or romantic aspiration, she is being raped. She has to go through the procedures of filing a police complaint, giving a written statement to the police, going to the Child Welfare Commission where she is counselled, and the counselling has become very straitjacket again. Instead of being more related to sexual education, sex education, telling them, okay, whatever happened, happened, it has become more behavioral corrective kind of counseling. That, okay, what you did was wrong, this was not needed, and you will break contact with the boy, you will focus on your education, and these kind of counseling is given to the girl. And in some cases where parents don't want to continue giving shelter to the girl is transferred to a shelter home, which is again a prison-like situation for a girl. Now, despite the criminalization of sexual activities for minors have other social impacts. First of all, girls are forced to drop out of school. They are forced to leave their parental home, go to living in a shelter, or living with their grandparents. Young boys who are not at fault often become a delinquent in the eyes of law, going through the cases which are filed by the parents of the girls, and they have to go to a legal battle again, an impact on them that they might have to discontinue their education. Now the grey area that comes, which we feel, is that what the protocols of the government-led scheme, the OSC One Stop Center scheme, has done, that it doesn't see each case with a different lens. Like I said, all girls become victims. We are not able to navigate that, okay, this girl, probably she fell in love, she had a sexual encounter, she is not aware of sex education, she became pregnant, and now she needs support. Now, we are not able to go case by case. Any girl who is pregnant by a sexual act, whether it's forcible or not, we have to follow the protocol where she becomes a delinquent in the eyes of the law, or a victim in the eyes of the law. Initially, One Stop Center played a very vital role here, but with the given situation, we are forced to follow the similar protocols provided by the cases of pregnancies which occur and abortion. The issues that the women face are different. There is a moral approach. The ministries, the departments are not aware of the progressive judgments which the court has come up with regarding abortions. Girls are treated as the same as I said, and when there is an MLC file, that is a medico-legal complaint, where a girl goes to a hospital for getting a checkup, she is not provided a contraceptive pill, saying that, okay, there was a sexual act, you can evade the pregnancy by having an emergency contraceptive pill. No kind of treatment is given to her. There are no spaces that ensure confidentiality of the minor girl. Childline, which was an agency for girls, has been shut down and replaced by the Special Juvenile Police Unit. So again, they directly come in contact with police instead of a safe space which can provide them support. Girls are forced to live in shelter homes. If the girl comes to a different city to seek abortion, she is sent back to the same city, to her same home city, to follow protocols. There is a delay in process because there are so many agencies the girl has to go through to get the abortion that often the gestational period crosses the 24 weeks mark. In some cases, girls have given premature birth, waiting for their abortions. And the sad part is that there is no support. There is no policy for providing support to a minor girl post-abortion. There is no follow-up. There is no follow-up that she should be linked with education. And since free and compulsory education is only for children below 14 years of age, so there is again no legal imperative in that matters. There is no legal setup, especially focusing on minor children like these. And the worst, in case of the girl is given birth, the biological father, even if he is a rapist, is mentioned on her birth certificate, on the birth certificate of the child. And she cannot even change it later once she marries someone else. The last bit is the visionary approach with which One Stop Center started. Now the girls are like lost in numbers. There's a complete absence of child and adolescent specific policies, and a visionary and an open lack of like a non-patriarchal vision to deal with the cases of abortion and violence on minor girls. So I hope this.
Yes. Thank you very much.